Hi everyone, my name is Jean-Philippe Bossuat. Today I will be presenting, along with Thierry Bossy, our solution to the Track 2 of the IDASH 2022 challenge, which is a joint work between TuneInsight and EPFL. The Track 2 challenge of this year is to securely outsource the phenotype imputation from DNA sequences. In our setting, we have three parties: a client with genomic samples, a modeler with a model able to input phenotypes from genomic samples, and a honest but curious server tasked to make the prediction. The client and the modeler both encrypt and send their respective inputs to the server, which uses them to make a prediction under encryption. Then the encrypted result is sent back to the client for decryption. We approached this challenge in 4 steps. The first one was to find a model with a good balance between being able to perform well on unseen data and being friendly to homomorphic encryption. We then fixed privacy goals and designed a homomorphic circuit that complied with those goals. Finally, we iterated over the performances and accuracy, finding the bottlenecks and improving them. I will now let Thierry present how the model was selected and trained.
The data provided for the competition contains the genotypes of 20,000 variants taken from 3,000 subjects. Considering the subjects as samples and the variants as features, we are facing an over-parameterized system, that is to say, a system of equations that has more unknowns than equations. In general, we can find an infinite number of solutions for such problems. To predict the continuous and the binary phenotypes, we started using simple linear regression and logistic regression respectively. As expected, we obtained 0 error on the training set, but the models were performing very badly on unseen data. We see on the graph below that the model is strongly overfitting. The error on the training set fastly decreases to 0, as the error on the test set stops decreasing at a much higher error value. To overcome this issue, we added regularization terms to the linear and logistic loss functions. The regularization technique consists of adding a term to the minimization problem that will penalize the complexity of the models. To do so, we used ElasticNet with equally weighted L1 and L2 penalty. It is a model that, in addition to the least squares loss and the cross-entropy loss, contains a term that combines the L1 norm and the L2 norm of the weight vector. It enforces the values of the weight to be low while reducing the error of the first term. To perform well on validation set, we needed to find an optimal value of alpha, which sets the balance between the error and the regularizer. We selected the alpha value by doing a grid search, namely setting sequentially different values of alpha and evaluating them with a 5-fold cross-validation. We finally kept the model that minimized the average loss on the 5-fold validation sets. We also conducted experiments on deeper models with the aim of improving the prediction of the phenotypes. To ensure that the models could be used for inferences under fully homomorphic encryption, we restricted ourselves to multilayer perception of up to 2 hidden layers, with nonlinear activation function like SILU, which is good for a polynomial approximation. To avoid overfitting, we applied different techniques as weight decay similar to ElasticNet, as well as dropout layers. Unfortunately, the different MLP models that we tried did not perform better than the previously described techniques, and increased the execution time of the inference under encryption by 10 times. Thus, we decided to continue with the regularized linear regressor and logistic classifier. Using our preferred models parameterized optimally according to each phenotype prediction, we made our final evaluation by splitting the data randomly in 2 sets, one training set containing 80% of the data and one test set containing 20% of the data. Among the 3 continuous phenotypes, namely the phenotypes 1, 2, and 3, we observe that the predictions of the third phenotypes are better than the seconds, which are better than the first one. Regarding the binary predictions, we obtained ROC functions whose areas under the curve were close to 1 for both, denoting almost perfect predictions. Through the left-hand side plot, we confirmed that the regularizer indeed solves the overfitting problem, as the loss function of the train and test set both decrease together to a similar error. On the right-hand side plot, we show that the ROC curve of the false phenotypes is close to the perfect rectangular plot. I will now hand over back to Jean-Philippe, who will tell you about the homomorphic encryption involved in our solution.
For the privacy goals, because we have several models with different features, we wanted to achieve model and features indistinguishability. This means that the server should not be able to tell models apart and not be able to infer anything about the features beyond what is possible from the circuit, such as, for example, which and how many features are used per model and if models have features in common. We achieve this goal by using the same model topology for all models, and always using all the features. This also fits well with one of the requirements of the challenge, which was that all the features have to be encrypted and sent to the server. As you can see, only a very small number of weights are non-zero, meaning that the models are, on average, over 99% encryption of 0. We implemented our solution with the full RNS variant of the CKKS scheme of the LightEagle library, and use the following 128-bit secure cryptographic parameters, which offer good balance between performances and precision. According to the homomorphic standard, our parameter should be 128-bit secure, but we also verified their security using the updated Martin-Albrecht lattice estimator, which confirmed that our parameters are indeed 128-bit secure. One of the requirements of the challenge was that no preprocessing was allowed, not even rearranging the order of the samples or the features. So the only options we had, since we have to send the entire sample matrix to the server, was to pack the sample matrix as is. A naive packing with 1 row per ciphertext would only use 4.8% of the available plaintext slots per ciphertext. But by packing multiple rows per ciphertext, as well as using the complex domain, we were able to increase the packing density by a factor of 20, so from 4.8% to over 96%, which is close to optimal. In the end, the total size encrypted is 65 MB, which is only twice the 32 MB that would be required to store the matrix in plaintext, assuming that 8 bytes are used per value. For the models, we use the same packing approach as the one used for the samples, and we encrypt them transposed, with weights replicated for each sample. This means that the packing of the encrypted models is in fact identical to the one of the encrypted samples. Consequently, the size of each model is also 65 MB, for a total of 325 MB. Additionally, 4.5 MB of key materials have to be sent with the models. The homomorphic circuit consists of the following steps. First one is to perform an inner product between the encrypted samples and the encrypted models. This is done with a Hadamard product between the two inputs, followed by a summation of all the ciphertext. This step is the heaviest one of the circuit because it requires over 1,000 multiplications and additions per model. However, we can delay the most expensive part of the multiplication, which is the relinearization, to a single one after the summation. Because each ciphertext encrypts up to 10 rows of the matrices, we still need to sum its internal rows. And then we rescale. The final result is a ciphertext of 65 KB for each phenotype to be predicted. To finish, here are some benchmarks with the runtime, peak memory, and precision of our solution. We can see that the total runtime for all 5 models, which includes the marshalling, read and write on the disk, is in the order of a second, with an amortized time per model of 250 milliseconds. Regarding the precision, we achieve over 23 bits with respect to a plaintext evaluation, meaning that our results have at least float 32 precision, even though the evaluation circuit contains thousands of multiplications and additions. Thank you for your attention.